Well, hello, everyone. How are you doing today? It's Friday. Woohoo! This is Linda G. Robert, your back in the groove again coach. And today I am doing something that's really different. I have a special guest with me. And, normally I talk about self love and self care and traveling, and of course, so much more. But today's topic is a little different. As some of you know, I've recently relocated to Elliott Lake, which is a small city west of Sudbury, Ontario. And many of my viewers have actually been considering selling their homes and moving here. So I thought, why not? Why not bring in an expert to share some valuable insights? So joining me today is my friend Sara White. Hi, Sara.
Hi, Linda. I'm so happy to be here.
She's a seasoned real estate broker, educator, and host of the podcast Real Talk for New Agents. What they didn't teach you in real estate school, and we're going to talk about that, Sara. Since 2009, Sara has been a top producer agent in Southern Georgian Bay, earning numerous awards for her success. And with a passion for helping buyers, sellers, and investors achieve their real estate goals, she brings a wealth of expertise and real world experience to the table. Welcome.
That was an
Welcome.
amazing introduction. Thank you, Linda.
You're welcome. And we're going to pick your brain, Sara. We're going to pick your brain.
Go ahead. I'm ready. I love talking anything real estate. So hopefully I have some tidbits for your clients.
I'm sure you will. I need to know, how did you get into real estate? Like, how did that all start?
Oh, it's a journey. So I started when I was 18 years old. I went to work for Remax in Toronto as a receptionist.
Wow.
And I was hooked. And I remember saying to myself one day, there was this beautiful elder lady coming into the office. She parked her Jaguar in front of the building, got out, and it's that beautiful green that's very popular right now. And she got out and into the office she went, and I looked and I said, one day that's going to be me. Yeah. When I bought my first Mercedes, I thought I hit the jackpot. And then throughout the years, I stayed in the industry. I did get my license in 1992. So I was only 21 years old.
Goodness.
And working in Toronto at that time, oh my goodness, it was so difficult because remember, we didn't have computers. We didn't have the internet. We had no cell phones, and people were calling us based on a 2-line ad in the Toronto Star and saying, I want to see that house you listed. And you were getting in cars because back then you were driving people to and from showings.
Right.
And it became a little dangerous. So when I went to a couple of showings and I was, somebody started stroking my hair, putting their hand on my lap, I just said, I'm out, not worth the money at this point. So I revisited real estate when I came to Collingwood in 2009, and my kids were going to school full time. And I thought, well, where am I going to go with my career now? And I redid my license, and here I am today, 16 years later almost. April is 16 years.
So have you worked in any other fields at all?
I have. So I have been an entrepreneur my whole life, except I did a small stint of 4 years with American Express. So I ran a computer business back when building computers and, everyone getting custom made PCs. I did that for a few years. I worked for American Express for 4 years. And then when I had enough of the corporate world, I decided that I was going to buy a paint your own pottery shop.
Oh.
And I knew nothing about anything to do with pottery and thought, I love to paint. I'm artistic. I'm tired of the corporate world. I just want to do something different. And I literally quit my job and bought this studio within 30 days and did that for 4 more years. So I have a lot of business experience behind me, which has really helped with real estate for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about real estate. I've had two homes and I've sold both of them. And one of them was in Hanmer, all right, near
Okay.
Sudbury. The other one was in Rockland, very small town, Rockland. So I'm living in a small town here, right? And I mentioned in my introduction that some viewers do move here. Some probably rent where they're living, currently living, and they rent here. But I know some of them are also selling to
Hmm.
move here for
Yeah.
whatever reason, downsizing. How long, let me rephrase that. How long does somebody need to think before they actually put the sign for sale on? How long do they need to think about it before they put the sign on? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, some people have 5-year plans and they know that in the next 5 years, the kids are going to graduate high school. We're
Right.
going to downsize, and this is our plan. So they start early in the process. And then there are others that life events take over. So
Right.
they may, have a divorce happen and they're like, I need this house sold immediately
Right.
because I need that money to move and buy my next place and get on with my life. So it just really depends on the individual circumstance. I mean, I've had
Mm.
people who are like, I want to be on the market yesterday. And we go to town and start doing all the things we need to do to get it on the market. You can get it on the market within a week or two, depending again on the condition of the home and anything, whatever you need to get done before you list it. Because remember, you have one opportunity to make a first impression.
Yeah.
So you
This
really
is
want to get it right. And unfortunately, sometimes you'll see people put the sign on the lawn, just call a couple of people, whoever gives them the best deal, they put the sign on the lawn, and the house is really not ready for that. You lose money, you leave money on the table. So it's
okay.
important to sit back, think about what you're doing, take a really good look at your house, figure out what needs to be done. I mean, people can call me in to have a consultation, and I can give them all the advice for free before they go ahead and list their
Mm.
property. So it's important. I mean, your timeline could be anywhere, and we're here to help no matter if it's 5 months, 5 years, or 5 minutes.
Wow. That is so good to know. Because with my experience, the very first time I tried to sell my house, not the one in Hanmer, the one in Clarence Rockland, I showed it, I staged it. After three offers, it did not sell. Okay, it did
Wow.
not sell. Long story, I won't get into it, but it didn't sell. And then I thought, I'm not going to sell it. I'm not going to sell it. So didn't do anything until 21. So I think the first time I tried to sell it was in 18. Yeah, it was in 18. So in 2021, I sold it and I didn't do anything at that time.
And
I think it was
and it,
COVID probably had something to do
yeah,
with it too. So I know that some people spend a lot of time getting their house ready, whatever that means. So what does it mean to get their house ready? And I'm not just talking about the staging part of it, but
okay.
what does it mean to get their house ready?
That's a lot of things. So
Okay.
let's just take it to the step where you've got your sign on the lawn and
Okay.
people are driving by and they see the sign. They say the house is, there, a house is for sale, and they turn and they look at the house. What do they
Right.
see? Right? Curb appeal is very, very important. Many people who want to buy a house want curb appeal. Or they
Right.
think of it as, oh, maybe that house is a really good deal because look at the condition of it. And they start to think lowering price points because of the condition of the outside. So the outside is very important. So if you know in the winter
Mm.
that you want to sell, come spring, you need to take care of the things that you need to take care of, right? That
Right.
shingle that's coming off, your siding needs to be fixed. You want to clean everything up, your garden beds, but pay attention to the front of the house
Mm.
because that's what people see first.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then, you go into the backyard because people want space as you know, COVID was crazy and people just looked for the biggest lot so that they could be outside with their families and
That's right.
enjoy. So that, I mean, things were selling so quickly, as you know, Linda, you didn't have to do anything to your
No,
house.
I didn't do
But right
anything.
now, right now we're in a buyer's market, which means there's a lot more inventory than there are buyers.
Mm,
So you run into, if you're all priced the same, who's going to get the offer, right? The one
right.
that shows the best
Yes.
and looks and has been taking care of the best.
I think that's the answer. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. So there's work to do on the outside, that curb appeal, which makes, a lot of sense, but on the inside too, right?
Yes, absolutely. Like
On
I
the
said to
inside
you
too.
earlier, right? You have 10 seconds to make a first impression. And some people, when they walk in the front door, if they smell a funny smell, if they,
Right.
those perfumes people plug in, that's a definite no-no. If you've got pets and there's hair everywhere, or your walls, are damaged, like they'll make that impression. You could have the nicest house, but you haven't upkept on some of the basic things.
Right.
You're gonna turn people off at that first impression. So think about that when you walk through your front door. What does it look like? What does it feel like? And I think the
Mm,
easiest way to spruce up the house is to give it a fresh coat of paint.
mm. Easy peasy, right? And not
Easy
that
peasy.
expensive. Yeah.
Remember, don't pick a color that you like.
Yes.
A neutral tone that everybody can see themselves using that color and updating it easily. Red walls, you know how many coats of primer that takes to get rid of? Do
I
that
do.
before you list your house. So, painting and decluttering, two easy things that you can do to get ready before you list. Use your garage for storage, buy the bins, pretend you're actually moving and start packing.
Oh, well, that's
Yeah,
the part that I never really liked. Okay. But
yeah,
that's exactly what the real estate agent told me the first time I tried to sell it in 18. They wanted me to get rid of a lot of the stuff that I had in my living room. And I'm thinking, well, where am I going to put this stuff? So I had to think of the shed, a storage. And they also suggested that I remove anything that kind of personalized it. So photos, family
yes,
photos, to
yes.
remove that. Is that still the thing these
It
days?
is still the thing to do. The
Okay.
idea is that you want a neutral palette that
Mm,
is open for the visionaries to see themselves living there. They want
right.
to walk in and go, I can see myself here. This is
Right.
an inviting living room. This is a very cozy kitchen. If it's small, you don't want them to think small. You want it to be cozy. You want it to be inviting to cook in there, just adding a few touches and removing stuff off the counter is very important. So depersonalizing is very, very important. People have a really hard time imagining things, believe it or not. Even paint. I had a house that just wouldn't sell, and it was the most beautiful house because when they walked in the door, the paint was brown and there were some
Mm,
stripes, and it was not very attractive to me or buyers. And I said to my client, we need to paint this wall, because the first thing they say when they come in is, ooh, and then that takes you through the rest of the house.
right.
So it's very important to neutralize and depersonalize 100%.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about staging. I
Okay.
had no idea what the heck that word meant years ago. Okay, staging a house, like really?
Yeah.
Okay, and I know that's a word that you guys use, right?
Yeah.
Professionals in the field use. So,
Yeah.
what does it mean to
I
stage a
love
house?
staging. I love staging my
Oh,
clients' properties. Absolutely. It's so much fun for me. I guess I wanted to be an interior decorator at some point in my past life because I love it. And what staging means is when you depersonalize your space and you pack everything up, your canvas looks a little blank. And so
yeah.
what we want to do is we want to zhuzh it up. So that means adding some cute things that are popular and in style at the moment. So we're picking items like a
Mm,
big, beautiful throw to put over your couch. And we know the big knits are in, fashion. Everybody wants a big knitted blanket. So that's what we're going to put on the couch. Also coordinating pillows, big, fluffy, down-filled pillows. So when
yeah,
somebody is in that room, they're like, "Ooh, I can see myself sitting by that fireplace in
right.
that blanket in the winter." In the kitchen, having some cutting boards that are
Oh,
modern and popular. So right now, the wood look is in. So you layer a few of those and people start thinking about entertaining. So you're trying to
mm,
pull out some, really nice venues, little areas of your house that people can start to associate it with something fun, engaging, inviting, warmth. And you do that throughout your house. Nice bedding, neutral tones, nothing that's going to give
mm,
people oh, I hate that color, because
right.
everyone's going to decorate their home the way they want when they move in. We
Yes.
want to give them a blank slate.
Yeah.
And then we want to add some really nice touches around the house so that they can see themselves living and entertaining, raising their children, retiring,
Right.
whatever it may be. The type of home dictates the type of staging.
Oh, well, that's interesting.
Because if I
Wow.
have a house that's going to be geared towards families, I'm going to decorate that different than a house that's going to be geared towards retirees.
Right. That makes perfect sense.
Yep, yep.
So
And
I,
so it's important that you do that. Yeah.
yeah, I want to change direction just slightly here. You're the host of a podcast, Real Talk for New Agents, What They Didn't Teach You in Real Estate School. What didn't they teach you in real estate school? Let's talk a little bit about your podcast.
Sure. So I decided to work on a podcast because I was noticing that many people, agents, were failing right out of the gate.
Hmm.
So they were coming into the business, and within 2 years, they were leaving because they couldn't make a success of it.
Okay.
You can be trained on, legal forms and, what you can and cannot do and how, relationships work. And wherever you are, you have different training methods and to get your real estate license, right? It's all about, you got to study, you read the books, learn the material. And I was actually a facilitator for the Humber College simulation sessions.
Oh,
So I got to see firsthand during COVID, what these new agents were struggling with as they were going through the course. Some of them weren't grasping the information. And then when they got to the end, they didn't have the support they needed from a broker of record or manager. And they weren't really sure, what do you do when you get your license? Day one, you wake up and what happens? And I had a terrible experience when I joined my first brokerage. And so putting all of the pieces together, I thought I've been really successful and I'd like to pay it back. And so I want to help the new generation of realtors coming into the field with some actionable things that they can do to start their business on the right foot. And so
that's
that's what I've been
amazing.
doing. Been a really great process. I'm enjoying it immensely, and I'm starting to interview some other newer agents who have conquered that 2 year timeline, and having some fascinating conversations with them as well.
Interesting. And I could see the importance of learning things that they don't really learn in school, and that and selling. You
Yeah.
know, the relationship that they have to build with their clients or potential clients, I imagine is that's so important, right? So can we tie that in? What you're trying to do on the podcast and the relationship that they need to build with their potential clients in order to help them sell their house. How important is that part?
Well, trust is a huge factor. When
Right.
you're dealing with selling somebody's property, you're more than likely dealing with the highest asset they own, right? This
Right.
is probably all the money that they have, and it's in this house. And they need to get as much out of it as they possibly can. And so
Right.
they're entrusting you, the realtor, to be, on top of your game, and they need to trust you. And so when you start out in the business, one of the first things I tell them to do is create a CRM, which is a customer relationship management tool.
Mm.
And you can just use the one your office gives you, because they all do that now with a website, and start building the list of the people that you already know,
Okay.
because they like you and they trust you. An example is my massage therapist became a realtor. Now, would you imagine that she would have a very high level of success if she ties into her massage therapy clients? Absolutely, because
Right.
they trust her. They get naked in her office
Yeah.
to get a massage, and they're trusting her. So they've already built the trust. We
Yes.
know they like her, and we know they trust her. And so now she's moving into a new career where she's got a bit of a database already of these people who like and trust her.
Right.
So that's what you have to do as a new agent. You have to tie into the people that you know and start letting everybody know that you've made this transition into real estate, because you have a group of people that know you, they like you, they trust you. Start with that,
Right.
and then start building on that, because
Right.
it's
Hmm.
very important that you show you know what you're doing and talking about to build trust. And
That's
that's the number one factor
yeah,
for.
I would say that's true because the very first one I chose, I didn't know them. And it's not that I didn't trust them, but I didn't know them.
Yeah.
And so many people now choose to sell their own home as opposed to going with a real estate agent, um, let alone a stranger, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that building that connection with your existing network makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I touched on the going your own route. What would be the advantage of working with a real estate agent as opposed to going your own route, selling the house on your own?
Well, it's been proven that when you sell your house on your own, you make less money.
Hmm.
And you're basically giving a discount to the buyer instead of hiring a real estate agent. And so in turn, what you're doing is you're giving yourself a job. You're basically saying, I'm going to pay myself $20,000 because I can do this on my own. So I'm going to give a buyer a break who I don't know, and I'm going to save $20,000 and do all the work. So I'm going to get professional photos done. I'm going to, make sure I got a drone of the area. I'm going to advertise it on all the platforms that I need to advertise it on. I mean, it just doesn't make sense in
It's a lot
today's
of
world.
work.
During COVID, pop a sign up on your lawn, maybe you would sell your house, right? Because there was such demand. But in
Yeah.
today's market, it doesn't make any sense. We build relationships with buyers over and over and over. I mean, you have a network of how many thousands of agents. Even if we were working with just one person that would match your house, you
Mhm.
automatically have thousands and thousands of potential buyers.
Right.
So why would you want to try to do this on your own? And in the end, it's been documented that many of those home sellers reach out to a seasoned realtor to get the home sold. I mean, at the beginning of my career, I went after for sale by owners all the time, and I converted and converted and converted just by using that method of going after business.
Well,
So
yes. Yeah, and probably a lot of those can't sell their house or they've tried and for some reason it's not working for them, right?
well, they don't know what the market's looking for. They don't know how to present it
Mhm.
in the best light.
Mhm.
They don't
Mhm.
have market stats on what's happening in the neighborhood. They don't have all the information a smart buyer, and just so you know, everyone knows a lot about real estate these days. There are a lot of savvy people out there. So if they don't have the information that the buyer wants, they don't want to get into a sticky situation. They'd rather have a free, because we are free for buyers, they would have a free representative, because then they can rely on us and our expertise. And what happens if the buyer buys a home from a private seller who doesn't disclose fact that they were having leaks in the basement for the past 3 summers, 3 springs, spring rain, right? I mean, they don't have to disclose that if they don't want to, but if we know about anything, we have to disclose. So sellers are in a tough predicament trying to sell their house on their own. The numbers are very far and few, and you see these companies popping up all the time. But where are they now? They no longer exist.
Well, actually, come to think of it, I haven't seen one of those signs, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's very, very hard to sell by yourself. I mean, we're trained experts and years and years and years of experience. What we do behind the scenes is what's the valuable asset that we have.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that, because honestly, we don't see that, right? When we're trying to sell a house, I have no idea what you're doing.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the list is long. I mean, I've had people, Linda, where they have a home that is their summer home or their weekend home. Lots of investors. You know, we rent out their places for the winter ski season, as an example.
Right.
You know, we have to go in and we have to make sure the cleaners came through. We have to make sure, well, this is, you know, you're working with somebody who's not here. He's an investor. He's paying you to rent his place out. So I don't want my tenants to come into something that they're going to be unhappy with.
Sure. But I'm thinking, what about property managers? So you're, in a sense, acting like a property manager, kind of?
We're kind of acting like a property manager when it comes to the rentals. Once the deal is closed and the tenant moves in, then the homeowner takes over. But behind the scenes, there's so much to do for these investors, because they've purchased a property from me and now they want me to rent it for them. So I go above and beyond. I make sure that the place looks good, that repairs need to get done. I hire them a handyman and make sure they get through. I hire them a cleaner if we need that. I hire them a painter if we need that. I mean, the same thing goes for somebody who is selling their home, right? The prep work at the beginning. I mean, I have had my gloves on and trash bags, making sure that the yard trash is picked up. You know, I've recommended, you need to do this, you have to paint this, you have to repair that, you have to fix that. You know, so we do all of that. And then we're also, during the phase of getting the house ready for the market, right? We're making sure that we're hiring professional photographers, videographers, getting drones, we're getting floor plans. We're making sure that when the photographer is there for 2 hours, we're with her or him, standing them, dictating where the photos will look best, what to take photos of, what to capture. I mean, and the list goes on and on. The carpets aren't clean. We hire a carpet cleaner, you know. It's just so involved. And then when you get to the part of an offer, you know, that's where our skills shine, right? I'm an expert negotiator. I love the negotiation part.
I can imagine.
So we get our gloves off and we start negotiating to get our buyer or our seller, depends what side you're on, the best deal possible.
Yeah.
Then what happens after that, Linda? We've got to get it closed. So we have to make sure all the conditions are met and that the buyer understands what they are and what the timelines are. So we have to follow up. We have to make sure everything's going according to plan, because there's a lot to do if your home is sold conditionally.
Right. Yes, I remember that.
Get certain things approved, looked at, checked out before they say 100% yes. We have to make sure we get the deposits. We have to make sure we're getting our FinTrack forms signed, you know, so we're responsible for a lot of things that people don't realize. And the list goes on.
Okay, you've convinced me. You're well worth the money then, because a lot of people don't want to go through a real estate agent because they don't want to lose any money over the deal.
Well, Linda, I did my stats and I have shown on paper that my clients made $10,000 more than all the other sellers in the marketplace at the time when I did the research. So it pays you back if you follow and listen to your realtor and let them do their job.
Right. Let them do their job. I think that's a good
Yeah.
good way to, go near
Yeah.
the end of our conversation. I just want to know before we do end, how do people find out more about you, about your podcast?
Absolutely. So on Facebook, Instagram, Sara P. White, that is
Mhm.
my handle. The podcast is at Sara White Broker. So I'm just gearing all of my help to new agents with Sara White Broker so they can find that. Podcast is everywhere that you can listen, and then you can watch on YouTube as well the live videos that I do. You can find them there
Cool.
as well. Yeah. And I'm known as the property mom on
Yes, I
all
saw
social
that.
media.
Yes, that's a
So
cool
you
name.
go to the property mom, you'll find me.
That's wonderful. So any final tips before we end our call today?
Well, I think that buying and selling, it's a big deal. We don't take it lightly in our careers. And so the only thing I can say is if you're getting ready to buy or sell, interview 3 or 4 agents and make sure you
Mm,
pick somebody that you really feel good about. Not
right.
the one that offers you a little less commission or promises you the sky. Get stats, get
Mm,
questions out, ask the appropriate things that you need to know, and pick somebody that you think is going to get the job done the right way.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great tip.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you again.
Thank
Thank
you,
you
Linda.
again.
You're welcome. It's
It was
been
a
great.
pleasure.
Yes, it's been great chatting with you, and I hope your viewers got some really good information out of it.
I'm sure they have. All right, everybody. See you next time. Bye bye now.
Bye.